So we've got two same-day pizzas here. One on the left is a pan pizza, one on the right, more traditional thin crust pizza. And let's see how I made them and which one I like best. Hey everybody, so here I'm making Brian Lagerstrom's 1 hour pan pizza dough. So I've got about 3 1/3 teaspoons of yeast in here. It's a lot of yeast, but we're trying to do this in a 1 hour rise, so that's why. And 8 ounces of warm lager. You're a good local Vancouver lager, so we'll throw that in there. Give that a little mix. To this I also added a little bit of sugar, 1 1/4 teaspoons. And I've got also 9 grams of salt I'm going to add in there. And 1 1/4 teaspoons of olive oil. Give that a mix. He adds the salt with the yeast, which is interesting. Normally don't do that, but I'm going to follow the recipe here. Make sure that that's incorporated. 280 grams of bread flour. But now we're going to let that sit for 15 minutes. So this has been rising now for about 15 minutes. So now we're going to throw it into the pan. With the pan, we want to give it a healthy amount of olive oil. This is quite liquid. This looks a lot wetter than Brian's does in the video, but these pan pizzas are actually pretty good with a wet crust, so we'll see how it goes. This is looking good. We're going to let that sit for about 10 last minutes, and then we'll fix the pizza. It's been 10 minutes. This is looking good. It's right up to the edge. Just going to give it a little boost here. Now I'm ready to top it. So I just made a quick sauce. This is a 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes, and to that I added about a teaspoon and a half of olive oil. I added half a teaspoon of these Cormier Spices seasoning salt, which basically has a lot of the spices in it, and then another teaspoon of oregano, and that's it. A little bit of black pepper. So it's fairly simple. We're just going to put that on here. These pan pizzas can take quite a bit of sauce, so I put it right to the edge. Now, some cheese. This is full-fat mozzarella that I shredded. And finally, some pepperoni. There we go. Now this is going in the pizza oven. Here we go. Look at that. Take this out. We will top that with a little bit of oregano, a little bit of Parmesan. Now we'll cut. I certainly could have put more pepperoni on this, but you can see the crust. It's very light and airy, almost like a focaccia. Crust is very soft. Very soft and bready, but it is delicious, especially in 1 hour. So here, the America's Test Kitchen Dan Souza 1 hour dough. We're using a food processor. We've got about 1 1/3 cups of bread flour, half a cup of semolina, 2 teaspoons of yeast, and 2 teaspoons of sugar in here. We'll just give it a quick pulse. And for liquid, we've got 5 ounces of water, 1/4 cup of lager in here, 2 teaspoons of vinegar, and I've also got 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil. So we'll throw that in here. We'll throw the olive oil in. Give that a quick buzz. Now we'll let that sit for 10 minutes, and then we'll add the salt to it. It's been 10 minutes. Now we're gonna add in a teaspoon of salt. The recipe doesn't specify kosher or non-kosher, but I'm using kosher salt here. Now we're gonna process it for about 30 to 60 seconds. I guess give this a bit of a knead. Now this dough hasn't risen yet, so basically we're going to cut this into 2, and we're going to shape it in order to rise. So we're going to spray a little bit of oil on here. Take our dough, sort of start forming it into a circle. Now we can roll this with a rolling pin at this point because it hasn't actually risen yet. So we're not squeezing out any air. We'll finish it with the parchment paper. Get the rest of the way. So that's about 11 inches. So now we're gonna let this actually sit for 30 minutes. This has been rising for 30 minutes, so I'll pull this off. I'm just going to keep it on the parchment in order to put it in the pizza oven. And we'll just give it some sauce. That is ready to go in the oven. And here we go. There you go, looks good. Crust, soft. Some good browning on it. Just a bit of a taste. It's thin, crispy. The edges didn't really puff up as much as I would have expected, but holds together pretty well. And yeah, it's good pizza, again, for an hour. So here we have the 2 pizzas, and as a head-to-head, I think I'd have to say I prefer Brian's, just because it's a little bit easier. You make it in a bowl. It doesn't require the food processor, and a bit more filling, and it's a bit. It is closer to the normal Sicilian pizza that I do. This one is fine for same day, but it is. You can tell it's not a dough that's been aged, and the texture of the dough isn't quite as good. So I think between the 2 of these, I would give it to Brian's. Thank you very much for watching.